Hey guys, quick video for you guys to watch this week about water scarcity. Let's hop right in. Oops. All right, so just a real quick review from last week. Remember, our Earth has a lot of water on it. What was it, 330 million cubic miles? Or what was it, 320 quadrillion gallons? It's a really impressively large number. I mean, think of how large the ocean is. But remember, most of that water is what I kind of call trash water. It's salt water, and you can't really use salt water for much of anything. Can't drink it because it'll kill you. Can't put it on crops because it will kill them. And so, unfortunately, most of the water on our planet is just about unusable. Only about 2 to 3% of all water is fresh water, the stuff we want. And most of that, about 80%, is locked up in glaciers and ice caps and stuff at the North Pole and the South Pole. So we have a lot of water on this planet, but most of it is not super helpful. Fresh water, it's incredibly rare, and it's a hugely important natural resource. I would argue the most important natural resource that this planet has, because every single human being alive needs water to drink and for a million other things, as we kind of talked about last week. So we're going to talk about scarcity today. Remember, scarcity, the word means that if something is scarce, we do not have enough of it. Sorry, quick coffee break for me. So we can break scarcity down into two different categories. On the one hand, we got something called physical scarcity, and the other is economic. First one we're going to talk about is physical, and this one's a bit easier to understand. Physical water scarcity is when areas just don't have enough water, at least not enough water to meet the needs of all the people that live there. Let me show you some examples real quick. So what can cause physical water scarcity is if an area is going through drought. You might remember drought is a period of time where an area is getting much less rainfall than it normally does. And if you're getting less rain, that means you have less fresh water available, and that can lead to physical scarcity. You might also have physical scarcity because you just have too many people living in an area for the amount of water that is actually there. Great example, if you've ever been there, the city of Las Vegas. If you don't know, Vegas, it's in basically the middle of the desert in Nevada. They don't have a lot of natural fresh water there. Las Vegas is also, I believe still, one of the fastest growing cities in our country. So you're getting more and more people that are moving there, and that's putting more and more stress on their freshwater supplies. That's making their problem of physical water scarcity worse and worse. Another thing that can cause physical water scarcity is the wasting of water. Most of us waste water to some extent in our everyday lives. I'm sure you guys do. I do. I try to be better about it, but all of us could work on wasting less water because that can add to physical water scarcity. Another contributing factor is if we are overusing our aquifers. Remember, those are those big kind of like underground lakes. And if we pump too much water out of them, more than it can naturally refill with, then that will lead to physical water scarcity. So some problems that can cause. Countries need fresh water. There's no way around it. You have to have fresh water. If you don't have enough, you need to find a way to get it. And that can actually lead to water conflicts, which we're going to talk about later. A lot of experts feel that a lot of the wars of the future are going to be fought over fresh water. And if a country doesn't have enough fresh water, that could definitely impact their economies as well, which, again, we'll talk about later. So if you look at this photo, I had something coming into the room. So this photo is pretty heartbreaking, I think, and it shows, let me move that a little bit. It shows, if I remember right, this was taken in India, and it shows a man who you can kind of assume is probably a shepherd, and you can see his flock of sheep is all just lying there dead. And I read a little backstory of this, and it's because they were going through a drought, and basically the animals just didn't have anything to drink, and they died of dehydration. So the fact that the animals died, of course, that's sad. But you got to think about what that means for this farmer. That was his livelihood. That was how he was supporting his family. And he, I can guarantee, is not the only person in that region going through these same issues. So this obviously can have a pretty drastic impact on a region's economy. The next type of water scarcity is something called economic water scarcity. So this one's a little more complicated, but don't worry, it's still understandable. But it's when an area has water, but they just don't maybe have enough money or technology or stuff like that to actually either get to it or to make it safe. So if you're in a poor developing country somewhere, you could be standing on top of a massive aquifer underneath you, but maybe it's 4 miles down. If your country does not have the money or resources to actually drill down to it, to be able to pump it to the surface, then it's almost like you don't have that water at all. Another type of economic water scarcity is if maybe you have bunches of water on the surface and lakes and rivers, and it's really easy for you to get to, but if you don't have improved sanitation and human waste, human poop and pee and stuff is getting into that water, that makes it so it'd be quite dangerous to actually drink it, which is another type of water scarcity if you don't have enough safe water to drink. Water infrastructure, or all the stuff you need to build to have safe water supplies, is really expensive. Drilling down to an aquifer with a big drilling rig like this, expensive, not easy to do. Laying water pipes like this, I mean, you can tell this is a big job to do. Takes a lot of money, takes a lot of technology. Not all countries can afford that. Setting up water treatment facilities, which are like these big factories that clean water and make it safe. Again, really expensive. And economic water scarcity, unfortunately, leads to over 1 million deaths every year around the globe. Most of them, unfortunately, young children and babies, because their bodies are the ones that are most vulnerable to drinking contaminated, polluted water. So like I said, this leads to diseases and death, and it also contributes to high levels of poverty. If you don't have access to safe, clean drinking water, that can keep a community kind of stuck in poverty. So how to fix that problem boils down to money. If these countries or these regions can get the money that they need to either clean the water or just reach underground aquifers and stuff, then the problems can be largely fixed. But most of these countries do not have the money that they need, unfortunately. So on your note sheet, you're going to see a little map on there, and I would like you to shade in which regions of the globe have physical and economic water scarcity. So on this map, any place that is this darker red or pink color, those are areas with physical scarcity. So in our country, you can see it kind of in the southwest, going further down into Mexico. There's a couple little splotches in South America, but this is the big area that has major issues. So kind of North Africa, the Middle East, and then kind of it spreading over a bit into Asia. There's a lot of people that live in those regions of the planet, and some of those areas are already kind of unstable when it comes to peace and war and stuff like that. So if they also have problems with water scarcity, that makes it a much more dangerous combination. Economic water scarcity is shown in green on this. So you can see some in Central America, South America. Huge part of Central Africa deals with economic water scarcity. India, into Southeast Asia. I used to live in Vietnam, which is right here, and you definitely don't want to drink the tap water and stuff there because it could make you quite sick. So these are, I would like you to transfer that to your map on your note sheet. Here is another map. It just kind of shows you how many months out of the year different regions have water scarcity. So if you're green, you're doing okay. If you look at roughly where Minnesota is, we're doing okay for the most part. If you're kind of in this, it means like for roughly half the year, you're not getting all the water that you need. So you can see a lot of our country falls into that color. And if you're this dark brown color, you really are dealing with water scarcity pretty much all year round. So you can see big chunks of Africa, Middle East, Australia, parts of Southeast Asia, India. So that can be a major issue. Another problem is if we look at this map of global peace index. This is kind of ranks how peaceful or non-peaceful different countries are. So you get a lot of the areas that are dealing with water scarcity are also areas that are less and less peaceful. And so that just creates like a really dangerous situation. And unfortunately, and I believe this is the question on your notes, climate change is going to make these problems a bigger deal basically year after year, and that's already happening now. But we're having more and more big droughts take place around the world, and that unfortunately is probably going to keep getting worse for until we hopefully can figure out a solution to climate change, which we're not doing a great job of so far. So that's what you need to know for this for now. Thanks for watching.